VAVPay is an educational business application based on consciousness direct utility network effect that enables seamlessly harnessing addictions and strengthening the immune system. In today's presentation, I'm going to explain VAV token utilization process of level 1. VAVPay application is built on the consciousness direct utility network effect where users have their identity and where every new user who joins VAVPay products increases the value to other users who are in possession of VAVPay products. In other words, the more users VAVPay services have, the more value every user receives from those services. The main task of the consciousness direct utility network effect is to strengthen retention and build an authentic and genuine connection between the users. VAVPay application is also based on the 7 phases of development, where each phase consists of a different level of advancement. The first phase is called Mayin, the second Nucleus, the third Nanocoach, and the 7th Mishkan. The user's objective is to complete all 7 phases and finish the mission, which is to break out of addiction or addictions. Each phase was designed for 1 year, so to complete the mission, users would need in total of 7 years of their time. For the purpose of better understanding today's presentation, outlined numbers are purely hypothetical. Phase 1, called Mayin, is based on 4, marked in green, out of 7 layers of consciousness direct utility network effect. After logging through the Nexus blockchain, the user is transferred to the main menu and from that can access the NFT zone where can purchase Phase 1, called Mayin. After the purchase, the user receives a notification that Mayin consists of 2 levels. The first one, Gadlut, and the second one, Katnut, that shall be completed. The objective of the first level is to deliver the user's own anti-data to the VAV marketplace, for which of course the user is going to be rewarded. Anti-data delivery takes place once a day, 6 days in a week, when users watch a 60-second video simulation of their daily life activities. After watching the simulation, they are requested to select one of the 5 displayed answers with which they identify the most or resonate with. For each provided answer, the user receives 1 VAV token. So after 6 days, the user is going to collect 6 VAV tokens. On the 6th day after receiving the 6th token, the user receives a message in which is informed that 10% of the received reward is deposited in the treasury called ZAN, whereas the remaining 540 of VAV tokens stay in the sub-account. On the following day, that is on the 7th, the user receives another notification that tokens that are held in the sub-account can be now invested in purchasing anti-data of other users. That purchase anti-data is automatically transferred to the MESAC storage. For supplying that anti-data to the MESAC storage, the user receives a return of 26%, that is 1.40 VAV tokens. 10% of this amount is deposited again in the ZAN treasury, giving income of 1.26 VAV tokens, which are paid to the user's main account. Let's give a quick summary to the first level where the user sold their own anti-data to the VAV marketplace and then invested VAV tokens from the sub-account to purchase anti-data of other users. The user's income comes to 1.26 VAV tokens, whereas ZAN treasury income comes to 0.74 VAV tokens. But what happens to that 540 VAV tokens? If they are not transferred to the user's account, then where? These tokens were only used to purchase other users' anti-data. Once the process was completed, the tokens were redeemed and returned to the main VAV pool. This ends level 1, called Gadlut. The user is now ready for the second level of the Mayin phase, called Katnut. On the same day, that is on the 7th, the user receives a notification which video simulation was selected most frequently by the users during the first 6 days. Based on that, a proactive practical exercise is designed to be implemented by the user within the next 24 hours. That completed assignment shall be next posted on the user's profile. It could be a picture or a short video. The user basically shares with the rest of the network a new observation which was experienced during that proactive assignment. For making the social post, the user receives 1 WAF token, reduced by 10%, which is deposited as before in the ZAN treasury. By now, 2 stages, that is GADLOOT and CATNOOT, have been completed, and the user receives the first key. So let's quickly review so far outlined details. The user who fully completed the GADLOOT and CATNOOT levels should receive 2.16 WAF tokens, and 0.84 WAF tokens should be deposited into the ZAN treasury. So far the user has received only 1 key. However, any user who collects 7 keys will be able to exchange them for the golden key, which in turn enables the user to take part in the grand reward called Uli. What is Uli Grand Reward? All WAF tokens that have been deposited in the ZAN treasury are equally distributed between qualified users. It is important to underline that this distribution includes also other revenues that have been generated by the WAF-Pay application, such as revenue from watched advertisements or sold WAF tokens. As stated before, users' weekly income comes to 2.16 WAF tokens, and the ZAN treasury weekly income comes to 0.84 WAF tokens. So after 7 weeks, or if you prefer after one entire circle, the user's income will come to 15.12 and ZAN treasury to 5.88 WAF tokens. Assuming that there are 5,000 qualified users, every user who takes part in the Uli Grand Reward would receive 5.88 WAF tokens. But despite the best intentions, not all users will qualify for the Uli Grand Reward. To be eligible, users must complete the GADLOOT and CATNOOT levels in full without a single day break for 7 weeks in a row. Let's make a simple simulation. How would the return look like if only part of the users qualified? Let's assume that only 3,000 were qualified and the remaining 2,000 were divided into 2 groups, Group A and Group B. Group A would deliver anti-data 2 times in a week for 7 weeks and complete the second level only 4 times out of 7 possible. And Group B would deliver anti-data 4 times in a week for 7 weeks, and as the Group A completed 4 times second level called CATNOOT out of 7 achievable. As a result, Group A would generate to the ZAN treasury 2,080 WAF tokens and Group B 3,830 WAF tokens. The total would come to 23,550 WAF tokens to be distributed between 3,000 qualified users, who would deliver anti-data not 2 times, not 4 times, but 6 times in a week for 7 weeks, and who would complete CATNOOT level not 4 times, but 7 times. Please find attached a link to that simulation. Of course, users who didn't qualify also receive a reward, but only for anti-data delivery. The user from Group A 6.54 and the user from Group B 9.48 WAF tokens, in comparison to qualified user who would receive 15.12 plus the Uli reward, which comes in total to 22.97 WAF tokens. The Uli Grand Reward is directly integrated and connected with 2 burning processes. The first of them is named Yovel and the second call. How does the Yovel burning work? All tokens that were deposited in the ZAN treasury in the first week are not included in the Uli Grand Reward, but are utilized. For example, that 5,000 users generated to the ZAN treasury income of 23,550 VAF tokens. 3,000 users generated in the first week 2,520 VAF tokens, Group A 240, and Group B 490 VAF tokens. So a total of 3,250 VAF tokens are to be utilized. But this is not all. From the amount of 20,300, 10%, that is 2,030 VAF tokens, are also utilized. And that is the second burning process named call. The remaining 18,656 VAF tokens are now equally distributed between 3,000 qualified users. That comes to 609 VAF tokens plus income from the first level called Gadlut would bring the user's income to 21.21 VAF tokens. The numbers are broken down under the attached link, so please feel free to have a look into it. Let's remember that this is not the total income that users generate from the yearly grant reward. In reality, there are also other revenues that the VAFPay application generates and which are directly connected to the ZAN treasury, as I mentioned earlier on. For example, if the VAFPay application would generate a gross income of 500,000, then 10%, which is 50,000, is designed and designated for VAF token buyback. If the token were valued at $2.5, that would bring additional 20,000 VAF tokens to the ZAN treasury, and the user's income would increase from 609 to 12.8 VAF tokens. In addition, the users who would qualify for the yearly grant reward have two options to withdraw their assets. Option A: if the user decides to invest their yearly reward in staking, then as a result they receive compound interest. If we assume that the user would receive every 7 weeks only 2 more VAF tokens from the yearly grant reward, then in total users earned profit would come to 386 VAF tokens. The assets can be withdrawn investing. After 49 weeks from the first staking, the user will be able to withdraw their first investment of 6.69 VAF tokens. After another 7 weeks, 16.33 until the last payment, which will be at the end of the 49th week, when the users will be eligible to withdraw 126 VAF tokens. Alternatively, the users may withdraw the yearly reward investing in 7 fixed weekly installments of 0.87 VAF tokens. Of course, which at any time can be also invested in staking, but only at the rate of 9.5%. Now, there is one more remaining question. How the last 3 weeks of the calendar year are calculated? Since the yearly grant reward is paid every 7 weeks, and we have 7 full circles in the calendar year, how the remaining 3 weeks are sorted out? These last 3 weeks are going to be included in the next year of the next phase called Nucleus, where the users are going to work on a new level of their consciousness development. One more important piece of information. Once 51% of VAF tokens are utilized, the Yovel burning process stops functioning, which of course will slow down VAF token utilization. However, once this happens, all qualified users are going to receive 51% of the company's shares, including 51% of the revenue. The qualified users are going to have 2 tiers of income. One as the user, and the second as the co-owner of the VAFPay application. If the process of utilization was extended, then there is a second solution, which is 6 years since the VAF token entered the exchange. So it all depends on which option is going to meet the criteria first. And that is all for today. I would like to thank you for your time, and if you have any additional questions regarding the utilizations of the VAV token in phase 1, please feel free to contact us through our social media. Thank you.